Hi, it's Lynn from LynnieCDesigns. Today I'm coming on to show you how I made this card. So all the details will be on my blog and there'll be a link in the description box below. I'm going to swap out these gems for some clear epoxy gems because these are actually retired and I was just using some up from my stash when I made this sample. So I'll show you what I've used. A couple of stamps from the Forever Fern Cling stamp set, and also one of the dies from the Forever Flourishing dies, and I've used the Brick and Mortar 3D embossing folder. The card base is Seaside Spray. It's a standard card base, which is half a sheet of A4. All of the measurements will be on my blog. I've got a sheet of Very Vanilla for the inside, and then I've got a piece of Very Vanilla which I've already embossed, some vellum which I'm going to stamp and then heat emboss, a strip of Seaside Spray for the sentiment, and I have already die cut these 3 flourishes which I'm going to use as one of the elements for the card. I'm going to stamp on the vellum layer, and I'm going to use Misty Moonlight. Because vellum isn't porous, the ink stays quite wet. I'm going to cut a strip of this and put a strip on the inside. I love this stamp, it's just absolutely stunning. Let's come. It is such a lovely image. Put that there. Now I know that the sentiment is going to be around here, so I'm just going to fill that gap in there. The only thing you have to be careful a little bit with vellum is that you don't smudge the ink as you're going. So I'm being quite careful there, and then I'm going to come in, I'll come in one there, and then I'll come in there. Fabulous. And I don't know if it shows up, but it is still very wet. I'll shut that down and come on with the clear embossing powder. Now normally with embossing powder I would have used an embossing buddy, but I found that on vellum that you don't actually have to do that. Let me just get that back in the pot. And this emboss powder goes a long way. So here we are. I think it's really nice. Now when I did my first try, I just stamped the ink on the vellum, but I thought it was a little bit flat for me, so I'm really pleased with this. The only thing with vellum and heat embossing, you have to be careful not to burn it. And then with Misty Moonlight ink and some Versamark and the clear embossing powder, you can actually create embossing in any colour. So I'm gonna pop that on there, and you tap it in the Versamark first, then in your ink, whatever colour you're using. Get that back and then pop that down. Take that off. And there we are. I've actually trimmed it down as well. So I thought that tied it in quite well with the rest of the card. So we'll leave that open, and then the piece for the inside I'm going to stamp is, make sure we get this the right way up. put a sentiment there, and I'm moving it off to this side because I'm going to stick a strip of vellum down this side. I think that's lovely. To a friend that makes me smile. We all need friends like that, especially at the moment. So I'm going to bring in my little trimmer. So that's that. Those. So I'm going to trim this down. It's 9.5. And then I've got a little strip that will go on there. And trim that little bit off there. That is lovely. And then we can just get on and stick it all together. So I've got to get my bone folder and go over that. I'm going to put some glue. This is brand new glue, so very juicy. Probably didn't need to squeeze that quite as much. I'm going to stick that there. So what I'm going to do, as I said to you before, with my pick, I'm just going to take off some glue dots and I'm going to stick them where there is actually a solid bit of stamping. Can you see? Hopefully you can see that. There we go. So I'm going to pop that down there. And you cannot actually see where those glue dots went because it's behind the bits and pieces. I've got those 3 bits there, and I'll pop in my... Now that's popping up, so I'm going to go in and add another one there. And that's the beauty of this. You can just add them in where you think they're necessary. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the glue here and pop that on the back. And I did 3 because I wanted to make a sort of a wreath. That's part of the sketch, or my, and I think 3 of these layered like that look really lovely. So I'm going to pop that up on dimensionals. Now I'm eking out my dimensionals and getting every bit I can. Up on dimensionals there. Let's just see, is that straight? I think that's really straight. There we go. And then we are going to, do I use clear or do I use the frosted? Well, I'm thinking about that. Let me do the inside. So some more glue dots. I'm doing dinner while I'm making this, so hopefully dinner's not burning on the stove. And that's just a little bit longer, so we'll snip that off and then add that. And there's a little fly in my craft room that's been keeping me company today. So what do we think? There we are. There are the 2 cards. Thanks for watching. I will be back again next week with another project. Ta-da for now.